Jimmy, we're back. Pipe Dreams Podcast. You said this was 40 yesterday?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is 42.
40 something. We're in
Big.
the 40s.
We're close to my best number.
It's pretty rad. We're here by River Motorsports Park up in the museum. They were gracious enough to give us the studio up here, the design studio up in the penthouse.
It's unreal to be up here. We've got Museum Corner behind us. We have all the nostalgia around us. You can really feel there's just a lot of history in this place.
Yeah. A lot of history, a lot of money, a lot of really cool bikes. Sick view. I don't know if you guys can see it back there, but we're overlooking the back straightaway here. So super special spot. We've got a super special guest. But, James, before we get into that, we got to thank our partners. We got Yuasa Battery back on board again, re-upped with us, and super excited to have them. You want to hit it?
Yeah, Yuasa is the most trusted battery in powersports since 1979. For over 45 years, Yuasa has delivered power, reliability, and passion at every turn. Yuasa supplies powersports batteries to more OEMs and riders than all our competitors combined in the U.S. and globally. The reason is simple: premium quality, unmatched reliability, long life, and advanced engineering with years of application expertise. Yuasa batteries setting the standard for powersports batteries since 1979. Each and every day starts with
Yuasa Battery. You can find your battery at your local Yuasa retailer via yuasabatteries.com. Stop on over Hudson Valley Motorcycles. We got a full inventory of them over there.
Big D will hook you up.
Big D Money. He's going viral, dude.
Dude, he's huge.
He's huge, big. We have also got Gulf Point Advisors, a forward-thinking wealth advisory firm. Tris has been trying to give me some advice, but it's not been going so well. We gotta get through this wedding. Which, speaking of which, you'll be in the same boat pretty soon.
Yeah,
here.
I know.
Founded
I'm
in 20.
I'm stacking heavy. Tris, help.
Tris, help. We're sinking over here. Founded in 2016, Gulf Point Advisors is a New Orleans-based boutique investment firm led by longtime listener Tris Millard, helping clients nationwide get on track with their financial goals, whether it's investing, planning for the future, or just making smarter money decisions. Tris has been a listener of the pod for a while and reached out after hearing some of our conversations about the financial side of racing, the highs, the regrets, the wishes. I'd invested sooner. I know I did. He wanted to support what we're building here with Pipe Dreams, and he's also offering his expertise to our audience. The best part is Tris is a rider himself. He was just down, I think he's doing some weird stuff, but he knows the thrill of burning through a set of fresh tires on the weekend, and he's not here to judge. He's here to help you make your money work as hard as you do. So if you have any financial questions, there's no such thing as stupid questions. Give him a call. Tris is available via email at tris@gulfpointadvisors.com or 603-731-3230. That's Gulf Point Advisors, investing with purpose. Securities is offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through New Edge Advisors LLC, a registered investment advisor. New Edge Advisors LLC and Gulf Point Advisors are separate entities from LPL Financial. I think we're finally getting it done, dude.
Dude, you're locking in. We need to speed it up so it's like blah, 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 blah. But yeah, today's guest is Kenny Roberts, one of the most influential and revolutionary figures in American motorcycle racing history. Kenny came out of the American flat track scene at a time when road racing in Europe was still dominated by tradition, and riders from the U.S. were barely taken serious on the world stage. What followed changed motorcycle racing forever. Known for his aggressive riding style, dirt track instincts, and relentless competitiveness, Kenny became the first American to win a 500cc world championship and then kept winning. But his impact went far beyond championships. He helped transform rider safety, change the way Grand Prix riders approach racecraft, and opened the floodgates for an entire generation of American world champions who followed behind him.
Welcome to Pipe Dreams Podcast, Kenny. I know you said you haven't done a ton of these, but we really appreciate you coming on.
They didn't have these when I raced motorcycles.
They didn't?
They didn't have nothing when I raced motorcycles.
No media, nothing? You guys had to do interviews,
A lot of media, but all with a pencil and paper.
Really? No video, nothing?
Yeah, of course. Europe was a different place,
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You had people following you around all the time, cameras.
I could imagine.
We never paid attention to it.
It was probably a little bit easier to get away with stuff back then, though, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cameras not everywhere, people not showing or, taking video of every little thing. So you said you just moved here to Barber. From what I hear, you have your collection now in the museum.
Well, we moved here. I don't know. I think I bought a house a couple of years ago. I'm on my second one already. So yeah, it's. I never really thought about it when my bikes were in my basement, or in my garage. But having the opportunity to be here and in front of millions of people, I never thought about it, but it's actually a pretty cool deal.
So I think you got more than 9 bikes here, I believe, and then you have trophies and a lot of memorabilia now getting kind of put through the museum and things of that nature.
Not all of it, obviously, probably 5% of it,
Yeah.
but a lot of the good stuff, stuff that people in America would never get to see, because it was always done in Europe at that time. I never raced a Grand Prix in America, so they now have the opportunity to see what we did.
You were just kind of keeping that stuff in your house at the shop, more or less, right? So it was
Yeah.
like kind of tucked away.
Some museums would take it for a while, and I'd bring it back, but mainly just my 500 World Championship bike sitting in my garage, which is worrying because I've started a few fires in my day.
Did your wife ever give any trouble having the bikes? Did you put any bikes in your house?
Well, they weren't in the house actually, but no, I never had that problem.
I just put my championship bike in my living room, and it's been a little bit of a
Touchy
touchy subject.
No, I never actually put it in the house, so that's a different idea.
Yeah, it's fun. It's when you're having dinner right next to it. It's kind of feel like we're on like a little bit of a double date with my fiance and the old girl sitting there. But what like how did the whole thing come together with Barber? Because I know it was obviously a unique opportunity to be able to have all of your stuff here. But was it something you were thinking about, or did they approach you on it?
Well, Casey came to the museum, not the museum, my warehouse, and all this stuff's in the warehouse, and he's just going, I had no idea you did all this. And so, yeah, I did. And of course, we have a lot of stuff, probably 4,000 square foot of motorcycles and motorcycle parts
Holy
that we have
smokes.
built. And what are you going to do with it? I mean, it's expensive junk right now. So have the opportunity to have them bring it here. Not only I can see it, but my grandkids can see it, and the grandkids can see it. So
Yeah, is that something you always thought about, like
no,
kind of
I never
generational?
did. No, I never did. I was busy
Yeah,
running racing teams after I quit racing. So, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I think Chuck was telling us about the race team and how much an abundance of parts that you guys had when you did that.
Well, it's not like taking and ordering a fender for a Harley Davidson and grinding on it. It's every part had to be designed, had to have a parts number, and had to be made. So nothing's off the shelf.
Yeah.
The only thing that we could use off the shelf was brakes and suspension. The rest of it had to be made.
That's crazy. And how involved were you in that?
Well, I was paying for it all.
the worst part of it.
I have the buck stops here, and I oversaw stuff. I wasn't there every day, but Chucky did a good job, day in and day out, management of the company.
Were you like, do you have an engineering background? I was just kind of curious about that, like how you.
I have no background in school at all, other than being in the 100-year Hall of Fame in my high school, which I never graduated, but it's kind of different. But what made a motorcycle work intrigued me. And so didn't matter what it was. It was just the smallest little things. Like, I wonder why that is better or that's worse. And a lot of the times I did stuff that wasn't better. But for whatever reason, I'd kind of ride around it.
Yeah, you made it work. So, but I mean, obviously, like designing parts is not, you can't just wing that, right? You got to have some kind of knowledge and
Well, I didn't
understanding of
design
physics.
them. I had designers.
Mhm.
I think at the height of our thing, we had 6 designers.
That's
So-
crazy. That's a lot.
You know, I can walk around and look at the designs. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Change
that.
it.
Yeah. Is it one of those things? I always imagine like when you start those, when something kind of evolves and grows, like even what we're doing with Arch, right? And it's kind of small and then it kind of gets bigger and bigger. Do you see that happening as it's happening when those kind of things start to develop, or is it just like all of a sudden you woke up one day and it's like you've got this massive thing and it's got all this infrastructure to it and these people and parts and so much variable to it?
Well, it started gradually because Yamaha was sometimes stepping back from development rather than going where we thought they should go. And I understand it now, of course, but I didn't understand it then. Started out, I rode the bike and started a team in '86. And I rode the bike when we hired Wayne and Kevin McGee because they were rookies, and I wanted to test the bike. And I said, what a piece of junk. And so Bud Axlin, Chucky's dad, worked for me most of his life. I said, I want the 84 exhaust pipe on that bike. No, you don't know what you're doing. Smaller and it's, yeah. I know all that. I want that. And that started our development because there was too much volume in the crankcase and exhaust pipe to make it run where it needed to run. Or it needs to run about 6,000 RPM, 8, and it didn't. You know, there was a big lag in the power band. And so we fixed it, and the bike was much faster. And just because of the exhaust pipes, and we were putting epoxy in the crankcase and the cylinder to make the port smaller. And that's led us into making our own cylinders, and then that led us into making our own traction control, and that led us into getting more frustrated with Yamaha and making our own.
So it's just like one can of worms after another, more or less.
It was just, I remember one meeting with Wayne, he was throwing a fit about the engine not running right, and I said, okay, I got to go. Where are you going? I said, I'm going to go eat some aluminum and shit a cylinder for you. And, and it just, the meetings were pretty intense because he was always wanting better, always wanting more. And so Yamaha would bring cylinders and we'd put them on the bike. He'd go out and he'd do 5 laps, pull in. These are Yamaha cylinders, aren't they? I said, yep, take them off. So it was, Yamaha was buying cylinders from me that we made in England, putting them on their bikes in Japan.
No way.
So it was interesting times.
Have you always had an ability to kind of pick the bike apart instead of, it sounds like when you're, hey, I want the 84 exhaust. Like, have you always had that ability? Like, where did that come from?
Just hours and hours and hours on a motorcycle. Mini bike mainly, but just all day long. I would, when the TT500s come out, I would run a tank full of gas through that thing on a motocross track. And that was rough. Them things weren't real motocross bikes. So, and it was just, I did a lot of experimenting with dirt tracks because I started my own frame company, and I realized that I was making stuff that nobody could ride. So that interested me, why they couldn't ride it and I could. And it kind of evolved into swing arm pivots, engine positions, chain force, and that kind of led me into actually probably winning the world championship the first year out because I had that knowledge, and a few times it paid off. And 1 or 2 spots up the grid is or the start finish line made a
massive.
difference.
Yeah, I could imagine that era of just like kind of you could do whatever you wanted for the most
Well,
part,
everything
right?
was like this. Yeah, that looks about right.
Yeah.
I remember my Montesa when I was 18 at Ascot. I think this rake is too far out. It's toward the end of the year. So I cut the frame tube and we push it up against the, my buddies push it up against the wall in our shop. And I had bought 2 washers at the hardware store, and they were galvanized steel. I had no idea what I was doing. I welded it with a torch and went to Ascot 3 days later and won. So I said, I should have done that before, 'cause it's better. Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
Do you think that that era is kind of, I mean, obviously you see a little bit of it coming back with the hooligan thing here in Moto America, right? Where you can kind of really like take a bike and pick it apart and make it something much different than what it was meant to be. But do you feel like that era is kind of lost a little bit in racing because things are so kind of cookie cutter in a way, or there's like a box where everything has to be?
Yeah, of course. Every time there's a plus, there's a minus. So that kind of happens around the world, you know. This is fixed, but that made that bad. So it's a lot of times they don't think this stuff through.
Yeah.
And every time the MotoGP said, okay, we're going to do this to save money. Okay, get your wallet out because it's going to cost more money. It never failed.
Yeah, that's kind of seems to be always an interesting conundrum when they go do this stuff, when they change the engine size back and forth, and it's, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah, I said when they went to 800s, of course it was a mistake because the corner speed is going to go up. And they were complaining about crashes, so safety. Well, that's going to make it worse. I'm going to be interested to see if the new 850 works.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I mean, I saw some stuff. I think I saw the Hondas were already going faster, but they don't know if it's because of the Pirellis or.
Well, I stood up in front of the AMA riders meeting at Daytona when they put the restrictor plates on my 750. And I said, I want to thank the AMA for making my bike faster because our lap times were faster with the restrictor because it took a lot of the brute torque out of the thing, so it didn't spin the tire as much. And so a lot of this stuff doesn't get thought through very well.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody sitting behind a desk is kind of thinking about it and making a call on
Yeah,
it.
I'm not sure about the new rules, whether they've limited the RPM or not, but torque is what they need. They don't need top speed.
Do you follow MotoGP pretty
Oh, yeah.
closely? You watch like every.
Well, yeah, I watch it when I can, yeah.
Yeah. What do you like? Do you have a guy you root for? Anybody?
Excuse me? No.
No.
I like Marquez just because he's so aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my main guy,
Yeah.
Marquez.
And
I don't like all the mistakes he makes, but
That's part of being aggressive, though, isn't it?
well, there was a few things that I thought from the team point of view were not done properly. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's his deal.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back after this most recent one.
Well, he's bounced back before.
Yeah.
He definitely has the talent to do it. I don't think in my opinion, I don't think he's ever looked real comfortable on the thing.
Not this version.
Not like the Honda
No.
was for the beginning of his era. It seems like I had that problem too. Some of the Yamahas that I rode, from the handlebar to the seat was too long, and it was not me.
Yeah.
You know, I had to ride like everybody else because I'm short.
You think the injuries starting to catch up with him? Like,
I just have not seen him comfortable on that motorcycle. I think his riding style is different than the other guys, and I think he needs a motorcycle for that style. And I don't think he's got that at the moment.
do you think that his style, because everybody kind of talks about, hey, nobody can ride his bike. right? When he develops down, like the Honda, no one could ride it. The Ducati, he got in, and after the first year, it's already people are complaining around him that, hey, it's going down a Marquez development path. We can't ride the bike. Is that because he's so unique?
Well, I think that in my era, my steering head was so the Japanese wouldn't ride it even on a test track.
Wow.
They go, I'm not riding that bike. It shakes its head too much, and I think that that's his problem. But whoever's developing it doesn't look like it's being the right direction. So it may take him some time to get that. But what do? Develop it for everybody else or develop it for him? Of course, you're going to develop it for him.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever have to struggle with that when you guys were developing bikes? Like, do you develop for the broader spectrum, or do you for your horse in the race? You know,
Because I was Dunlop and Barry Sheen was Michelin in the Yamaha era when he was riding Yamaha. I made triple clamps that were 2 degrees out, but it changes the whole characteristics of the motorcycle. And he tested them, and the first race in Argentina, he says, I've tested them, and they don't work. They don't work. Why are you running them? And I said, yeah, but what you don't understand is you steer with the front wheel, I steer with the back. And he looks at me and goes, what are you talking about? And I went, there you go. And I won the race. So they didn't work for him.
Yeah. I mean, when you were around guys in that era, did they all have a similar kind of sense as you, or were you pretty unique in that way where you were thinking about changing your triple clamps 2 millimeters and those guys were just riding?
Yeah, I think it was more Suzuki came out with a bike and he rode it.
Mm-hmm.
And he would make the little changes that you want to make. They weren't drastic changes. Mm-hmm. And so and I remember riding the bike, and I'm not comfortable riding this bike, especially the 250. The year before we made the little one, I told Kel I want a little bike. I want to, shorten it up. And I had to ride like other people rode, and I hated it. I hated it. And the RPM was 13,000 RPM, and so when you back shifted it's like, I hate this thing. And so they made a little one, and I remember I said, I want torque. I don't want the RPM. I don't want 13.6. And so it was at that time 60 horsepower, Yamaha Get Kit at 13,000 RPM. And Cale made me a motor that had 48 horsepower at 10.2 was the top. And I smoked them at Daytona. It wasn't a race. I could ride around with a Coke and win because it had torque.
Yeah.
And we were pulling about 3 teeth less on the back sprocket and 1 on the counter, and we were 2 seconds a lap faster probably.
Wow.
And I went to Imola on that bike and smoked the Harley Davidson that was, the world champion at that time.
And so where did you learn all that? I mean, it just sounds like you had, dirt track, it sounds very dirt track, right? I grew up racing dirt track, and a lot of that sounds, very dirt track. And I know you at the ranch, and you've done a lot of dirt track in your day as well. And was that just trying to bring that idea to try to calm things down, or?
Well, no, the problem is that 13,000 RPM's okay, but when you're coming out of the corner at 9, it takes a long time to get to 13,000 RPM. On my 250, I could come out at 4,000 RPM and do wheelies.
Yeah.
And it shot through that point A to point B quicker than you could do on a 60 horsepower motorcycle. And I think that especially the 4-strokes get lost in some of that stuff. In the early days, you could tell that the ones that were higher on RPM weren't accelerating. I rode the Yamaha 8-hour bike, and I remember looking at the inlet port, and I said, that inlet port's too big. And the 4-stroke guy, because my first engineer was there. Of course, he spoke perfect English, and he worked for me his whole life. And so I said, that inlet port's too big. And they're talking Japanese. And I said, later, I said, what did the guy say when I said the inlet port was too big? He says, he said, you were a two-stroke guy. You don't know anything about four strokes. I said, I don't, but I know the inlet port's too big. And it wouldn't accelerate. I mean, it wouldn't do a wheelie because it was all RPM. And it was awful to ride. And so I explained it to him, like, I don't want this. I want that. And and they didn't fix it until I wouldn't ride it. The second year I rode it, I said, I'm done. I'm not riding this thing anymore. They welded up the inlet port. A company, HKS was the company in Japan, and they welded tubes in, little bitty, so it speeded up the volume, and then it would wheelie. And then Eddie Lawson, I got him to ride it, and he won the race. So just little stuff like that. They just, engineering, it doesn't ride the bike. And they have to have someone ride the bike and go, this doesn't work.
Were you open to other people's direction in that way too, or if somebody else came and said something?
Yes, I listened to everybody.
Yeah.
And I'd run around my little brain and spit out what I thought I wanted.
Did you struggle a lot with, like, when you had real engineers like Japan come over, like, look at you like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about? Was that a big?
Well, you get that, yes, of course, a lot in them days, because I wasn't an engineer. And you're talking to an engineer who worked for Yamaha, but he probably wasn't the right guy to talk to about that problem.
Yeah.
But they'd write it down okay. I imagine they just at night watered it up and threw it away. So yeah, it was. Luckily, I had Kel Carruthers, and he thought I was full of shit most of the time, but he would do it.
Yeah.
I remember one race, they brought this new, when the piston port ran out of steam, they had finally went to rotary valve, and it put out like 150 horsepower when we were like at 130. And so it was big. And they only had one. First race, they only had one. And I took it out in practice. It was Salzburg ring, and I said, this thing if it's running all four cylinders, it's a turd. And I expected it to be spin a tire, and it was a turd. So they jetted it down, it must be jetting, jetted it down till it seized up, and the whole thing was off. So the next race was Hockenheim. It broke a shock spring or something that day. Next race at Hockenheim, which is a real fast track, it won't accelerate. So they only had, because it seized, we had some used cylinders that we had. And I told Kel, I want you to cut 1 millimeter off the bottom of the cylinders. And Kel goes, that's not a good idea. I said, yeah, I know. I know it's not a good idea, but so we got spare cylinders, and so the racing manager from Yamaha said, you can't do that. I said, why? We have a lathe in the truck. No, if a couple hours goes by, and finally he got so mad he goes out of their motorhome, not mine, slams the door, and the lock goes bouncing down the road. He's a little upset. So and Cale said, I can't do it. I said, well, yeah, you can. It's easy. Cuts the bottom of the cylinders off, and I won the race.
No way.
It went from being a complete piece of junk to accelerating, and that's what it. And so then they came back a week later and said, oh yeah, you're right. It's a mistake. The transfer ports are 1 millimeter too high.
But but it sounds like you had some sort of like idea, like that you weren't just pulling like to 1 millimeter cut. Like you've had to have some sort of somewhere to pull that from, right? Like
Well, he
and-
did that to the 250 that I won all the races on.
Oh, okay. So you've had
I
the
knew,
experience.
how did you do that? He goes, I just lowered the transfer ports and raised the exhaust. And so when the first V came out, the second year I run the V, 83, my last year, it would hesitate when you'd grab a gear. And I said, do we have any of the rotary valves? Let's stop the gas. Let's cut it back. Oh, it's not a good idea. I know. I've been through all this shit. Cut it back so many degrees. All of a sudden it's accelerating and does what it's supposed to do. Then they come back and say, oh yeah, that's better. The dyno does not tell them everything.
Yeah.
And at that time they didn't have an accelerating dyno. If they had an accelerating dyno, they could just program it 8,000 RPM to 12 and 12.5. And it would tell them, oh, this accelerates better. Oh, okay.
It sounds like you weren't scared to change things and try things.
What's that?
It sounds like you weren't scared to change or try things.
Well, because I went from being an American guy, support rider, to a Japanese rider, which was another thing. I didn't have a contract with Yamaha Japan, and I didn't have a contract with Yamaha US because they said you have to be our rider now. And so I crashed the second lap in the test track and broke my back, my spleen,
Wow.
I think my foot, collarbone. So I'm laying in the hospital dying because of the spleens ruptured. And I said, well, I'm boned because they're not gonna pay me. So that was going through my mind. And after the surgery, just fixed the spleen, because they said we have to operate. I said, no, I want to go back to America. I didn't know nothing about Japanese medicine. They said you won't make it, and I'm dead. I remember the doctor spoke perfect English, studied in Ohio.
Wow.
And he put a gas mask on me and said, we're going to put you out now. And I thought, well, that's the last words I'm ever going to hear. It was pretty funny. And Yamaha came and said, well, Kenny-san, we have to sign contract. I said, really? Wow, cool. I kept me there a long time. That kept me there a long time. Because they didn't know if I was going to race or not.
The injury, you mean, kept you in the hospital for a long time?
I was in the hospital 3.5 weeks in Japan.
Oh, wow.
Staring at a ceiling, had holes in it, pegboard ceiling. And that was not fun.
What point did you start to kind of trust that intuition? Because I would imagine it wasn't just like right off, rookie year, you were telling them to make cylinder head, height changes, right? Like you had to evolve that over time. But
Oh, yeah.
at what
Well,
point did you start to really
The
trust your
dirt
gut?
track, well, one of the reasons was because I was American and I raced for Yamaha USA, I could do basically what I wanted to do.
Because they were separated?
Yeah, Japan had nothing to do with America. That was America. And we only raced production bikes. Well, there was no works bikes at that time. So I raced for Shell Tuit, which was the first 2 years I won the Grand National Championship with Shell and Kell. Then I wanted to do more, and Shell didn't. And so I left Shell and started my own race team with Yamaha, and they dissolved Shell at that time. So, then it was pretty much, okay, let's try this. I want a monoshock, and it all went kind of haywire, but I was always able to ride it the best to my ability. Some of the stuff wasn't very good, but still rode it.
But you just trusted in yourself.
Still, one thing that I kind of proud about is that if who can win today, my name was always mentioned. And on miles, the Yamaha was not capable of that till the 750 came out, 2-stroke. So, but my name was always mentioned from other riders.
They never counted you out.
Never counted me out. So that was kind of, you know, some things I like and some things you remember of your career, and that's one of them.
What are some of the things that you don't like that you remember? Is there any?
Being gone away from home
Yeah.
in hotel rooms was not my favorite thing. I remember one time spending like a month in Japan, and of course, you can only see the cowboys talking Japanese so much. You know, John Wayne did not speak good Japanese, and it was crazy time.
I could imagine, and I mean, I don't know you super well, but from what I know of you and just talking to you now, you seem like you're, you know, low key. So traveling the world and living that life, I mean, I would imagine that was a big difference from where you came from.
It just wore me out. And then of course when I was running for Yamaha and winning and changing bikes, then I had to do all the testing. I do all the tire testing. I remember testing Goodyear tires at Daytona. The 750 come out. I think I tested 38 tires in 3 days.
What?
You know, and it wears you out.
Yeah.
And they would slip one in now and then, just to see if you give them the same feedback. So it wasn't like, you know, they trusted you all that much.
What was it like back then? You know, like, because you were kind of in the uprise of the heyday, you know, cigarette money and all, like everything was kind of, you're talking about 38 tires, like so much investment back then was going into racing. You know, what was that like?
At that time, America was going the right direction for the racing. And so
Did it feel like there was a ton of money around?
I remember the PR guy at Yamaha says, "I'm going to make you famous." Like, okay. I don't care. I'm going to ride the motorcycle. You do what you want. And I was in Playboy magazine, Penthouse magazine did a big story. It looked like racing, you know, was going the right direction. Then I went to Europe. And of course, Cycle News always in the motorcycle magazines, but the American racing kind of died off a little bit, and it has not recovered.
Do you think that would have happened if everyone kind of stayed in the U.S.? Like,
It's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say. There's a lot of things that you have to overcome in America to make it that again.
yeah,
One is lawyers, and
that's for sure.
And the other is just convincing get the kids to ride a motorcycle instead of their phone.
Yeah.
Well, and letting their parents, getting their parents to let them, right?
Yeah.
That's a big challenge these days for sure.
So that's two big challenges.
Did you realize in that time period that you were, I mean, I probably not, but it's a silly question, but did you realize it was kind of the heyday of it? You were kind of building the heyday of racing? Obviously.
Yeah, in a way, I was a big part of it. You could see that around you and TV, and you were part of something that was growing. And then, of course, the European thing made me more famous outside of America, of course, but inside of America, still the racing was going down. I would go back and do Laguna Seca, and that was a big race at that time.
What were the crowds like back then? Do you remember? Like a race at Laguna, what would a crowd have been like?
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
60, 100,000?
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers because numbers are hard to
Back
come by.
then, yeah.
I would meet friends and they would say, "Oh yeah, we used to watch you at Laguna. We knew the guy that counted the tickets, and we just drive through. It's 8 of us." Yeah, and so it's hard to tell on actual ticket count, but it was a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And we just, the deal was, because I wasn't racing for points, and I never thought about it then, but Mike Baldwin was, and he could race with us. And I said, "Now look, we're not going to race till the last 5 laps."
You
it's
just
going to be wheelies and dicing it out. And sometimes I'd have to go catch Mike and, bring him back to the pack with Randy and Eddie. So but it worked.
It was
I
a
mean,
show.
it worked, and every year they just sold out. So
were they on board with that, or did they just want to hammer?
Lee Moselle was a guy who came to me and said, how much to do Laguna Seca? And we settled on a price, and he built it from nothing.
Wow.
I mean, the year before that, they were getting like 5,000, 6,000 people.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, people can't wait to go there. And so
they basically built an event around you guys, essentially.
well, it was built around us and wheelies and a race. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like
The
5
show of
guys
it all.
racing it out sometimes. And I remember going to Italy. It was that era of motorcycles where they would do wheelies. Because the Envy Agusta, no chance. It's all RPM. So I remember first time in Italy, Imola 200, I did a wheelie down the straightaway. And the next day, the bleachers were empty. It was the first day of practice. And the next day, the bleachers are full. And they were going like this. And I pulled in, and I went, Kel, why are they doing that? I didn't know. And he goes, they want you to do a wheelie. And I said, you're kidding. He goes, no, they want you to do a wheelie. And that started a whole era of a different style of motorcycle and a different style of riding a motorcycle.
Just because of wheelies.
Just
and
the
show of it all.
wheelie, just the wheelie.
That is so cool.
And they're all around the racetrack doing like that.
No way.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
Every corner.
Because, 350 Yamaha wasn't going to do a wheelie at that time.
So you guys started.
My little 250 would because it had torque. but they just it was an era where they went nuts. They never saw it.
Huh.
At that time, that's why when I first went to do Grand Prix on the 500, I was passing guys in Madrid around the outside, around the inside, and they never seen that before.
Yeah.
Because they're just used to drafting and then
Yeah.
out breaking somebody. And that they called me the Martian. I'm not from this earth. And so that it's in Spanish, it's Marciano. And I would check in at the airport and they go, oh, Marciano. It was an era where they kind of went crazy for a while.
Wow.
That's so cool to be a part of, though. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So kind of back to some, don't want to go back, but back to some testing. I'm kind of just still intrigued. Could you see the amount of money being spent around in that time? Like, I mean, the development was like this. Like, could you
Well,
could you feel that?
It was the development, but with a two-stroke, you could take a porting tool,
Yeah. So
make it slower or make it faster.
So just
So there wasn't a lot. When it got serious was around the redesigning, making a V work and changing reeds from rotary valve to reed valve, crank reed valve. So it isn't like it is now,
yeah.
where it better be right on paper or you're not changing it. The four-stroke stuff's so much lead time to get something done. I remember building my V5, like crankshafts would be like 8 weeks. And then 8 weeks come around and be, maybe another 4 weeks. and
Yeah.
and it was a problem lead time to make that kind of stuff it takes a lot of time and money. Not just time, but it takes time and money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of things working the right way all at once, not just.
And changing it,
Yeah. Making the wrong one
like,
and then having to
we
rechange.
changed the bore and stroke. And the Formula One engine guy wanted a bigger bore, and I wanted a smaller bore. And so he ordered 20 crankshafts or 10 crankshafts for his bore and stroke, and like 2 for mine. And then we put on a dyno, and mine was better. And he came to me and I said, I think I know why the smaller bore is better. And I said, why? He goes, because the gas we have to run with a bigger bore is not burning at all. Okay, Chuck, fire that guy. We started doing our own.
Wow. What about like when you're testing? Just because I feel like I'm living through this a little bit right now with us testing new parts all the time and stuff with our bike. But how did you get on the bike and just trust it when you're trying all this new stuff that's basically trying to kill you all the time?
Well, I was stupid. There's no other word for it. I jumped on the bike, and Tim Miller was my Goodyear guy at that time, and in Japan, he says the Japanese been riding this bike, and they don't lean over as far as you do. I want to change the front tire. I said, no, I'm just going to learn the track. So I ended up 3 laps, and then pushed the front, crashed, and broke my. So I'm my worst enemy. I should not even thought about it going fast. But the bike was running. The 79 bike really carbureted good and ran good, and I was too pumped, And I just went out and I want to miss this bump. It was like a third gear corner, and I missed the bump, but then I've got to lean it over more, and right into the guardrail. So. Yeah, it was not good.
Did that wear you down over time though? Like as the years went on?
And other times I would do things that I shouldn't be doing. So, when I ran a team, it was always, okay, don't forget, it's new tires, give it 3 laps. And I learned from my mistakes, which helped me in the racing team. So I caution more of stupid stuff that I did. The dirt trackers, I just take a dirt tracker out, go flat out, and not even thinking about this thing
could blow up on me or something.
Could do anything.
Yeah.
I know I was at this, San Francisco mile going into turn 4 with a straightaway lead, and the back wheel fell out.
What?
So it's like that was it's a problem, and I went into the hay bales, and then I flew up in there, and I think I either went over the fence or against the. And it's like, wow, that was weird.
Did you guys even think about it back then, like on a dirt track, just only hay bales? And because I grew up racing dirt track, and the safety's gone up, but still, there's a lot out there to hit.
No, not much.
No.
It was, it's like that'll work, and take it out and ride it.
Yeah.
But I remember the mechanic that didn't tighten the wheel, or somebody, and I'm sitting in the practice line, Mert Lawwell and Romero, and we're all sitting there the race the next year. And I looked at my mechanic and I said, Bud, I hope my back wheel don't fall out. And he's had a cigarette in his mouth. And he goes, you ain't been sleeping with my wife, you got nothing to worry about. And so we took off, and I looked back, and they were all gone. They were like, I'm not even going there.
Near you.
That was pretty, I started laughing. It's like, oh gosh.
I was at Indianapolis when you took out the TZ 750 again.
What's that?
I was at Indianapolis
Oh, yeah.
mile when you took out the TZ 750 again. Rossi was there. That was pretty cool. What was it like, kind of jumping back on that thing? And I saw you were at the bales just letting her eat.
Well, Ray Abrams built that bike, and he's been sort of with me my whole career. And it was kind of funny because a couple of times I ride stuff and it doesn't run, pisses me off. So I went out, and I took off, and I turned around, and I was going to go back and say, this thing doesn't shift. It's not shifting. And then as I rode back to him, I thought, no, he'll have a stroke. So that's when I turned around and took off from the start-finish line. But he came to me and says, hey, they're going to give you 15 minutes of practice. And I go, I don't need it. And so he goes, no, you better ride it to make sure it runs. I go, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take it out and practice. It's going to blow up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stand in front of all these people in an hour or two and go, I'm sorry, can't ride it because it blew up. And if it blows up, they got to see it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't practice. I just flung it in there.
I remember listening to it. It was singing too. Word.
Yeah,
Dude, it was awesome.
Yeah. They wanted
And
me-
Rossi was like,
yeah. No, yeah. Hey, Valentino, no. I go, Valentino died? Like, no, he's not going to ride your bike.
no way. I remember he's just like, no chance, no chance.
Yeah, it was fun.
Do you look back at stuff like that now and like, you know, are you riding anymore at all? Are you riding
Yeah,
anything?
sure.
You still ride like dirt bikes? What are you riding?
I've got a brand new 70-year anniversary or 50-year anniversary Yamaha motocross bike that was shipped from Europe to me for doing a commercial for them. And it's just sitting there, but I have not had time to actually ride it. So I want to build a TT 500. I want that era back to die on. So it didn't kill me when I was young. It tried, but yeah, I still enjoy building a bike. I design it on a drafting board, and then I build it. And little Kenny said, "What? How'd you learn to do that?" I said, "Well, you pick up a pencil and you go, I want the steering head here, and then you want the."
I wish it was that
It's pretty
simple.
simple.
Yeah.
I wish it was
Mathematics.
that simple.
It sounds like your whole career has been kind of built on it's that simple. You know, when we just cut the mill off it's just do it. Like it is.
Yeah,
We're not curing cancer.
How'd you learn to weld? Well, you do it. You know, you're not going to learn if you don't do it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things I didn't do right. I mean, we built Chucky axle on a bike in '82 in my garage,
Was it for Daytona?
and it was the first aluminum frame 250 bike. And I remember went out to first practice, and I had a lathe and mill, and I machined the brake to hold the master cylinder or brake cylinder, and it broke. So Chuck goes, my back brake doesn't work. And it's like, oh, the bracket's broke. Oh, I just put a zoot fastener on it. Don't use the back brake. And the Japanese are going, no. You can't do that. Why? You don't use back brake anyway. No, it's a safety. Go ahead, Chuck. And Chuck went out and rode it around. So, and Wayne actually won Laguna Seca on that bike. And going into the winner's circle, a guy hit him and bent it. And then I flew it to Britain for Silverstone, but it wouldn't turn right. Silverstone's all right-hand corner. So, yes, a lot of the stuff I did shouldn't have done it. But
It worked out.
Nobody got killed, so it was okay.
What I was going with the riding thing though is, you know, like the indie thing and whatnot. Like, do you miss those opportunities? Do you miss kind of getting out there and doing big stuff like that? Is it hard to fill that void?
Well, my brain still realizes that. It's funny. I can look at any racing photo, and I know the exact feeling on that spot. It's weird, and I've talked to other people about it, and I don't know if it's just me but I was putting stuff away in my new house in the basement, all the motorcycle stuff. I'm coming across pictures, and especially the good, and I know the exact feeling at that spot. There's one at Houston where both wheels are drifted because I'm on the crankcases, but I know the exact feeling on that. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And so I don't really need to go out and do it,
You can just look at
because
pictures.
I can just look at a picture and I get that feeling all over again.
Really? Wow. Yeah, it's pretty impressive how much stuff you seem to remember. You know, like I feel like that's one thing that I've
I
got
can't
a
remember
horrible
what I
memory.
had for dinner, but I can remember the races I rode in.
how many millimeters you shaved
how
off.
many millimeters you shaved off the cylinder.
Do you ever feel grateful for, like the story you're telling about the spleen and the hospital in Japan? Like, do you ever look back and reflect at like the whole length of your career and just like think about, wow, like I actually made it. I survived all that, just by some sort of luck
there was
almost.
times when well, Indianapolis was one time when in the main event, I had built the cushion up so I could have a berm, so I could get traction. And you saw the last on the Take It to the Limit or whatever that movie was. I was like on a string because I went in the corner way behind Jay and Springer and Jay Springer, Corky Keener, and it looks like I'm on a string, but the back end's tapping the hay bales. So there's just a hay bale, and I never realized it when I was doing it, but behind that hay bale was a 4-foot cement wall with steel beams going up. With every foot was a steel cable, and if I would have stepped outside of that and tapped that hay bale a little bit too much, I'm cheese grated right through that fence.
And we're talking inches.
Never even dawned on me during the race.
Wow.
But I look at it now going, what an idiot.
Yeah.
If I saw my kid doing that, I would have stopped the race.
Yeah.
Because winning the race isn't worth dying, but I never thought about it. It never ran through my brain.
But at the time, it kind of was, right?
Yeah,
That's all that mattered at the time.
Yeah, I knew I could do this, and I did it. So it's.
And that's at what, like 120 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour?
Well, it was funny because it was geared. We had it 5th gear, and and it was geared for 145 miles an hour at 10.5. And I looked at in the heat race, I just ran 5th gear, and I said it just does not hook up. So I had to ride the semi, and I think you had to win the semi then, or get first or second. I'm not sure, but I won the semi. But I told Kel, I said, take 3 teeth off the back sprocket. I'm going to shift it. I'll put 3 teeth on. I'm going to shift it. What? I'm going to shift it because it's not hooking. It's got such a broad power band. It spin the wheel all the way down the thing straight away. So I shifted it, and so I won the semi. I said to my Bud Ashton's brother, Skip, that was my protege. I said, Skip, it's much better shifting. He goes, no, my bike's working good, because he made the main event. And when I passed him in the main event, I was like, should have shifted it. And but shifting it just had enough brake in the thing. So I looked at the tack in the main event twice, and it was over 11,000 RPM. So I have no idea.
Wow.
It was over 145 mile an hour.
Holy crap.
Going
That's
off the hay
nuts.
bales.
And at one time, I would set it sideways just past the start finish line. And I saw Mert Lawwell and pole hugger, what's his name, Gary Scott. And he's on the pole, and Mert decides he's going to go to the outside. And I'm like this, 30 mile an hour, probably faster, maybe more. And I just went, I'm done. I can't turn it. I can't pick it up and go that way.
Yeah.
And luckily, Mert went out to the outside, and I went right between them sideways at probably 30 mile an hour. And Mert remembers it as well as I did. Well, he's no longer with us now, but he remembers that. Of course, they both passed me on the inside.
Yeah.
But the back straight, I went by him so fast it sucked the air out of his carburetors, he said. And so, and that's when I realized people will get killed on this thing because it's just way too fast. And I don't want to be that person that somebody hits or makes a mistake. And so there was a lot of incidents in that race of 25 laps. There was a lot of, because I started dead last, and there was a lot of close calls.
Yeah.
A lot of close calls of just being able to maneuver around it enough. But, you know, you're only going to get away with so many of them, is what I thought.
For sure.
And so,
How would you describe yourself as a rider? You know, there's some guys, you know, like the Marquezes, where you're kind of just ruthless and always pushing the envelope as far as you can. And then there's guys a little more conservative, like a Pecco. Where would you put yourself in that kind of in the modern realm of thinking, I guess? What would you classify yourself as when you're coming to the field like that, where people are like, oh, shit?
I was probably aggressive, more than most. Me and Wayne talked about it a lot. I think that I was a little more aggressive on the throttles, and Wayne was a little bit more finesse. So I kind of put myself in that era of Marquez reminds me a lot of my,
Yeah.
you know,
Approach.
what I did, you know.
You think people were like kind of scared riding around you, knowing that you were like that? Like I feel like that. Like if I knew Mark Marquez was behind me, I'd be like,
Me and Sheen raced quite a few races. Always give each other room. I never wanted to hurt anybody. So, and Sheen too. I mean, we made a living on motorcycles. I had kids to feed. Crashing was not one of the things that you make money on. So I didn't crash much. So
what was it like back then crashing? And now you see guys crash. I mean, if you don't crash 3 times a weekend, you're not pushing the limit. But back then, like how many times did you crash in a year?
Three times probably.
Oh, wow.
You wanted to keep
Probably
it
3 times.
Yeah, and they're doing 3
maybe
a
4.
weekend now.
I remember trying to get Lawson to go faster with new tires, or just follow me, and they put a new front tire in, and I didn't even think about it. One of the stupid things I do, just go out and follow me, and I'm going to Monza, and I just realized that they put a new front tire in. And it took about 2 laps in them days for the front tire.
because no warmers.
No warmers.
Anytime Dunlap would put a new tire, we'd just, because you got to go 3 laps slow. And going slow is not easy on the 500. And so Eddie too, so, I don't want a new tire, I don't want a new tire. Then I went into this chicane at Monza and went, oh shit, they just changed the front tire. And I was laughing, because Lawson's behind me, and that was pretty funny. Yeah, just stupid stuff like that. But yeah, that was one crash. But I think probably 2 times that year, maybe. Well, actually, I ran off the track that race because there was a lap guy, and I was trying to get away from Spencer and Randy.
So back then, did you guys have to scrub tires before the race? You would never put new ones on for the race, right?
No,
It'd be
no.
Yeah, okay.
No.
And how long would they last? How many laps?
If you're lucky, halfway through the race.
Oh, wow. So there's a lot still of
Yeah.
tire deg.
Yeah, you had 2 different riding styles, one
Yeah.
with grip and one without grip.
Were they much softer because they didn't have warmers back then? Was that part of it?
No, they just couldn't. Well, Michelin probably at times would last longer than the Dunlap. Sometimes it wouldn't. So the 83, Japanese brought a tire with a tire engineer to the second race. I won the first race. No, it was the first race that year, 83. And I did win the first race. I ran English tires in South Africa. And that's when they had the throttle cables, and they didn't go the push-pull till in second race in 83. And Yamaha, Dunlap Japan showed up with a guy with a bunch of tires, and So Yamaha saying, can you please try a Japanese tire? It's like, talk to the tire engineer, Pete Ingley was his name, from England. He goes, that tire is an endurance tire. It's 3 years old. If you want to waste your time, go ahead. Well, it was a second half lap faster. but it only had one compound, and the tire business is weird. I said, just make that tire bigger so it would last longer, right?
You say bigger, you mean like thicker compound?
Actually, bigger tire.
Wider.
Had more
Rubber.
surface area for the grip. Nothing worked. We run that tire every race and could never make it better.
Wow.
Dunlap England even imported water that they used at the factory
No way.
because they thought they can't duplicate that tire. And they tried to make it bigger. They tried to put that rubber in Japan on a different carcass. I won the last race that year. I won 6 on that tire.
Wow.
I mean, it's, in one of the last races was Sweden, and it just wouldn't last. It probably lasts 5 laps.
Wow.
But it was the only tire that hooked up that could go fast.
Races were 20 laps, similar.
No, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 45 minutes.
When was the first time that somebody was like, hey, we're going to put tire warmers on?
Put tires on what?
Tire warmers?
Oh, that wasn't till mid 90s.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like it seems like such a simple idea.
Well, we tested in 90 with Michelin, and Eddie Lawson rode out of the pit in Jerez, Spain, and it was cold. Rode out of the pit, high-sided in turn 1. So we're working on a bike, and he was okay, working on the bike, getting it ready. So he goes out again, and he's going down the straight, 1 lap, and goes down the straightaway, shuts off real slow, shuts off for turn 1, and high-sides it again. So just so happens the head guy from Michelin was De Pasquet, and he was there. And I went into their bus, and I go, look, I understand you want to test your race tires. It's freezing. Do you have a tire that I can just get Eddie to do a lap without crashing? Because we're running out of parts. And they're big discussion. There was 4 or 5 of them. Maybe, I think so. And that was the deal in them days. Michelin they wanted to test the tire. Well, the tire's too cold.
Yeah.
Well, just ride slow for a while. And we had so many crashes. I remember the 250, we ran a 250 team that year in 1990 in America, and we had 11 crashes. The year before we had 2. The year before we were on Dunlop, we switched the Michelin, and it would last the race.
Yeah,
but the first 3 or 4 laps was
treacherous.
And Kaczynski in 1990, when we took him to Europe on the 250, he kept crashing the first. I said, John, just come. I remember one race. Come out, do 5th place. First 3 laps, 4 laps, 5th place, 6th place, and you'll win. First lap, he's got a second lead. Second lap, he doesn't come around. And it happened in France, it came down to the last race he had to beat Cardews to win the championship when he had like a 45-point lead at one time. So yeah, the tires thing at that time, and now of course you don't have to worry about it because you got tire warmers, and the tire technology is so far ahead of
So crazy.
of where we were at.
When you think back at that though, like all the things you guys are trying engineering wise, like just heating the tires was probably quite simple comparatively to some of the other stuff you guys are trying, no?
Some of the time it's hard to isolate one thing because you have so many things that you're dealing with, chassis, suspension, brakes, power bands. You're not dealing with just, okay, let's try to make 3 laps, and then it's not that simple.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to know when the tire's in.
Yeah.
And I tested the Cagiva once with Michelin's on it, and I crashed twice, just breaking it in. And something's wrong. Little Kenny was there, and he come up, I crashed, breaking the bike in. Wasn't not doing anything, just, gone.
No way.
And there was in Monza, there's no, it wasn't Monza. It was Mazzano. They have this white powder. That's powder. It's like baby powder. And it's all over the track.
Really?
And the tire, I don't care how slow you would go, you high-sided. Because they only go a little ways and then, it doesn't work. So they wanted me to stop. And I said, no, I want to test the bike. Get some fire trucks. So fire trucks show up. A couple hours, they washed the track off, and I tested for 2 more days.
Wow.
No problem.
Wow.
So you're dealing with different stuff. And that's why now it's like, hey, it's cold. The track's not probably as grippy as you think it is. So all them things I learned, through my years.
When you were in Europe with your personality, it sounds pretty direct and, straight to the point. Did it take a while for people to get receptive of that? It just sounds like you're, hey, get some fire trucks and wash the track. It sounds like it's very simple, but very hey. And I mean, especially the Japanese would probably, I don't know, it sounds, every Japanese guy that I've met, maybe that's a bit direct for a Japanese. How did that kind of play out with your personality to them?
Not very well at times.
Yeah.
I remember
That's
talking to
hysterical.
my manager and saying, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get up to go to the bathroom. I'm going to quit. And then you start putting your stuff away in the briefcase, and I'm going to go to the bathroom. And so it got heated, and I said, okay, I'm done. I'm done here. I want a cab back to the hotel. I quit. And so Gary starts putting his stuff away, and I go to the bathroom. And I'm passing one of the guys that was in the meeting. He went to the bathroom before me, and he come back. He goes, "What happened?" I said, "I quit." And he said, "Oh, Ken-san, can't quit. I was in the bathroom." I don't know what that got to do with it. But and we got it, putting all his stuff away, and they said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, he obviously wants to go to the hotel." Oh, yeah, the meetings lasted 3 days, and it was, there was some interesting times.
Just hard to get them to make a step quick enough, or what was the hesitation?
Well, it was hardly ever about money, because I didn't really care. Matter of fact, when I saw the OW61, it was the first V, but it was only on the engine dyno, and they should not have shown it to me. But because Mike-san was my guy, he did. And so in the meeting, Mr. Hada was the head of racing, and he was a legend at Yamaha. And so there's probably 7 of us, all engineers, and then me. And I said, "Mr. Hada, I want to race the V." And his eyes lit up like,
What?
I could tell everybody, oh, shit. And he starts chewing them out. Who showed him that engine? And somebody said, it was a mistake. It was in the wrong part of the building, right? And but it was about 15 minutes of chewing them out. And I said, "I'll give you $100,000 off my contract to ride that bike."
No way.
And Mr. Hada said, "What?" And I said, "I'll give you $100,000 off the top of my contract just to ride that bike." And he couldn't believe it. He said, "Well, why would you do that?" he didn't speak, it's an interpreter, because I want to ride that bike. And so 15 minutes, 20 minutes goes by, and he's chewing their ass out again. If I accept this deal and that bike's not ready, all you guys are going to be working in the street bike department or something worse. And that was the worst motorcycle I ever rode.
Oh, no. Jesus.
And I paid $100,000 just to ride it.
Dude, that's insane.
I think I won 1 or 2 races on it, but God, it was awful.
Did you say it was awful, or were you like, I gotta ride this?
Yeah, I wanted a always more aggressive power band, the torque thing.
Yeah.
And so the way they achieved it was little bitty flywheel.
Oh, wow.
And that's, again, it was the push pull, like electron type square carburetor. Not many of them around, but it was not burr. It was, yeah. And I remember winning Madrid on it only because I could light it up and hit the curb, and then it would would go
Yeah.
up the hill. But Barry Sheen was catching me on the OW60, and I wasn't going to let him win. So that was an interesting race. It was really hot. And I rode that, probably one of my best Grand Prix as far as being out of control, in control. And the King of Spain was there, so they had double security. Well, I pull into the Parc Fermé, or whatever they call it, and my mechanics aren't there. So it's like, where's my mechanics? So I'm burning up now because I've stopped.
Yeah.
So there's no air
Yeah,
blowing
yeah,
on
yeah.
me. So I take my helmet off. This little fat Spanish guy comes right up to me. Hurry, hurry, the king is waiting. And I ignored him. And I'm trying to get my leathers off. I'm sitting on the bike, or the bike's propped up against me, and I'm trying to get my leathers off. And no mechanics. And so I'm wondering what the hell's going on. I didn't realize all the bullshit. But this little fat guy comes again. Hurry, hurry, the king is. And I said, fuck, you're a king. And he went, whoo! Away he went. And about that time, the mechanics showed up. And yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's great.
And he was a good king, he's
Yeah.
a great guy. But I give him rabbit ears on the rostrum. That didn't go over big either. So it was not a good day.
Back then, when you were saying it was super hot and physical, were you training?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. What was it?
Overtraining.
What was a training
No,
regimen?
overtraining. That's why this arm's got that. After I quit racing, one of the reasons I quit is my arm would pump up. I was too stupid to go to a doctor and go, how come this arm keeps pumping up?
Yeah.
I thought it was because I wasn't training enough. So I had a punching bag in my motorhome and the weight things.
Oh, wow. So you just
And
build
everything I did was the wrong thing to do for arm pump. Everything.
Dude, yeah.
Everything I did was wrong. And when I started training Randy and working with them guys on the motor, I said, I can't ride 3 laps. Something's wrong with this arm. So then I went to a doctor, and I said, yeah, there's no electricity going, when your arm pumps up.
Yeah.
And now, of course, everybody gets an operation
Yeah.
for that. But I was too stupid to go to the doctor when I should have.
How about like all that, we have a segment, we're partnered with Iwasa Batteries, we call it Recharge Batteries, but you're traveling a lot. Like how many days a year were you gone at that time?
Well, the first year I went to Europe, I raced Daytona and then went to Europe and raced every weekend till probably late September.
Oh, wow.
So if I wasn't racing the 250 500 at a Grand Prix, I raced a 750 at a Formula 750 round.
Wow.
So,
A
and
lot.
I had 3 weeks off. They always give you like 3 weeks off so they could race the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go home. But a guy in Rimini, Italy, said, we have a race, and we want you to do the race. I said, I want to go home. And so he kept pestering me, and Nobby Clark was my mechanic, and this guy spoke Italian and gave it to me. And I said, okay, I'll go do the race. I want $30,000. And so he said, Nobby told him he wants 30,000 US. So he's trying to write the zeros down, and he kept saying 3,000. And I kept saying, there's 1 zero missing. And this went on for hours. And I just kept, look, I don't want to do your race. You pay me $30,000, I'll do the race. And it was at 750, 250 and 750 round. And when I got there, I realized it was in between warehouse buildings. They just paved and put in, and it was around the buildings.
Oh, no.
But because it was on the coast of Italy, they expected a lot of people to come and watch. Mm-hmm. So $30,000, and I did the race. I think something happened to the 750, but I did wheelies and screwed around. And here comes the bags of lira. So I had bags of lira and like 10-pound notes from the spectators that paid to do the race. And I'm looking at these bags, and I said, so that's 30,000? Oh, yeah, I counted it all. Well, I'm not going to sit there and count $30,000 in $10 notes that say 20 millia, 30 millia, and I'm just going, okay, never mind. And wrecked my vacation, and I ended up taking the money back home, and then the banks wouldn't cash it. I had to send it to New York. I probably ended up with about $5,000.
After you shipped the money all around.
Yeah.
But so after a long year like that, I mean, in that era, it's not like you guys were doing, ice baths and red light saunas and all this stuff. Like, what were you guys doing to recharge the batteries back then?
Well, I had 3 kids, 4 actually working, and you try to get back into some kind of a home life for the kids. So recharging the batteries were just, it was kind of funny because I took the family to Europe. So I showed up with a motorhome wife was pregnant and 2 kids. And Barry Sheen drove to the races with a Rolls Royce. And Johnny Escato had a Ferrari and a Porsche. And here they called me looked like a hillbillies are here from the TV show. And so the Okies are here. And it was pretty funny. Every time I'd win a race, my mechanic would put in Merle Haggard, Okie from Muskogee, and turn it up so everybody could hear it. It was pretty funny. And it's just being at home, being back in America and just like chilling out.
Taking a breath.
And it didn't take long, and then I'm on a motocross bike riding again.
Yeah.
So I always had racetracks that either at my house or somebody's house. And so it was back riding again. And, 1 day or 2 days on a mini bike, all my problems are gone. I'm back to being normal. Like now, you can have all the stress in the world, get on the motorcycle and go for a ride for 30, 40 minutes, and it's all gone.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works.
Because your brain goes through that, throws all the bad stuff out.
What so we hear everybody talks about the ranch, right? We had Corey West on yesterday, and he was talking about that he went out to the ranch and rode mini bikes with you guys. And can you tell us a little bit about the ranch and what you guys tried to accomplish out there? Because you also started something in Europe to try to bring some talent through, but the original ranch was just you building tracks to ride, correct?
Well, I bought a ranch because I bought it after I quit racing. So it was 85, I think. 84, I bought the ranch. So it was a year after I quit. But I still did Laguna Seca and Daytona. I did the match races, and I did anybody that paid me, I go do. And so, so I bought it because I missed getting on a racetrack and riding the mini bikes, and I wanted to, I was divorced, so I wanted to be within 30 minutes of the kids because I take them to school and when I had them, and so there was a 200-acre ranch, and so it was in the 30-minute range, and just so happened it was perfect dirt, perfect ground for a racetrack. Wow. And it had a cutout to make a canal to it, and that was our supercross track. And it was just a really nice place to ride. And it started out being fun. You know, we all had mini bikes, and as Bubba started coming, and we had Kaczynski was training every day, and the kids when they were there, and it started out being fun. But not thinking about training so much. Then Bubba came, and that's when Wayne trained. You know, when I hired the younger guys, I made Randy train. He didn't like it. So to be gone away from his home, you know, because he couldn't drive and be there every day. So when I hired Wayne and started working with Wayne, that's when we started kind of training, you know, pushing each other to go faster and faster. McGee was there, so I fired Randy when he was second in the world championship because you want to train as much. I said, well, I don't want to be second. So,
oh no!
Everybody in Europe, press said, what an idiot. He was a good racer, but he doesn't know nothing about running a team. Well, I hired Kevin McGee, and he won the first race. So I become an idiot through all the winter stuff to being a big hero.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Wayne started winning. So, and that's when the training thing really started
picking up,
you know, to work, was when I had to get somebody faster.
Yeah.
And, you know, the mini bikes just refreshes all your channels, blows all the bad stuff out, and you get done riding all day, and you become human again.
Yeah.
And it was just a fun period for us. I mean, sometimes we'd line up 12 guys. You know, there'd be 2 rows.
Just bar banging.
And and there'd be the fast guys and then the guys trying to go faster. And it was just a fun time. And then I started training Japanese because my wife was Japanese, and Japanese said, could we come and train? And then I think one year we trained 18 Japanese.
Whoa.
18, yeah. And it was for them it was like Disneyland because I had a big house, and so we had 8 bunks each bedroom, and when there was only 7 or 8 that we would let come, and my wife and a lady called Hatsumi was Aoki's girlfriend would come, and they would cook, so they could shoot guns. In Japan, they can't do. They got to ride motorcycles in the dirt all day, which some of them didn't know a damn thing about it. And we had a hot tub, and they would all had outdoor showers, and they just thought it was Disneyland, you know. And they
sounds like it is.
Next year, can I come next year? I come. Yeah. Well, I don't know. You pay, yes, you come. And yeah, it was interesting. Some of them didn't swell good, and some of them were good. I mean, I saw a little kid with big ears, looked like Mickey Mouse, in my early days at the ranch. And he was a Yamaha rider, and I said, who's that little kid? And they said, his name is Harada. And I said, that kid's got the talent to ride a motorcycle. These rest of these guys are just posers. That kid's got some talent. And of course, he ends up to be 250 world champion.
Yeah.
And that started thinking about, and I told McGee, I said, you know, you've got this flaw in your makeup here. I said, you're always going a little too low and a little too fast to exit. He says, yeah, but that's my style. Yeah, okay, I understand that. If you can't keep up with these guys and you start high-siding the 500, well, let's talk again. So funny enough, Spa comes around. I need to talk to you. About what? Well, remember when you said when he high-sided about 3 times trying to race these guys?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. I said that, you know, at that angle, you ask him for trouble on a 500, it's going to throw you down. I said, you need to learn to go in a little slower and out a little faster. And I said, your makeup it's hard to do. John had the same problem. John was just borderline on corner speed and exit speed. And so it's...
But you could see that on the mini bike track.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Well, because I guess you ride the same, how you ride all the time, right?
Yeah.
Same approach.
Yeah, you could just see it. It's just, you know, me and Wayne were real close at the end. Junior as I got older, he took over. And so it was just, but you had to do it right. You couldn't do it wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys' makeup doesn't work. I mean, they just physically or mentally can't do it the way at that time it needed to be done. And it's strange that you can see it on a mini bike.
When you say mini bike, you mean like an XR80 kind of a thing?
No,
or
we
what?
started out with XR75s.
Okay.
And ended up with, when the Japanese were training, 150s.
Okay.
Because I got bigger.
With like a knobby front dirt track rear, or like what was the?
No, had knobbies
Full
front
knobbies.
and rear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because we went to the street bike rear, but it didn't have enough pressure.
At the time.
Because you could slide it too easily.
Yeah.
And that, like Valentino's house, he's got decomposed granite. All you do is slide. That's not what we wanted. We wanted a lot of grip, because grip complicates everything. So if you have a track that's tacky and has a lot of grip, you have to force it to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
If you have a loose track, the bike can do that.
Be loose a little bit.
It's a lot easier.
Spin the
When
rear.
you got a lot of grip, you got to lean the thing over and know what to do. It complicates everything. And so we always wanted that. So every hour I'd be harrowing the track and watering it and packing
Keep
it.
it tacky.
And that separates the guys that have the cojones and the guys that don't.
Yeah. When Rossi started his whole ranch, was that kind of cool to see somebody else kind of taking your template and doing the same thing, like kind of proof that it worked?
Yeah, I did, and he wanted me to go there, and I said, that's decomposed granite.
Yeah.
And I don't mix with decomposed granite, because I lean the bike over too much for that type of riding, because it's better to pick the bike up and get grip than to lay it over and slide. And it's like, no, that's not my, if you had grip, I could do it. But without grip, you just end up
spinning.
sliding
Yeah,
around.
and you can see it in their
whoever's got
videos.
The best bike or the best tire, it throws the whole thing out of whack.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that when you watch those races over there. If those guys that have their bikes dialed,
No,
they're
they don't.
dialed.
So
Yeah,
I,
they don't.
I went there and did their 100 Di Campione, and it was exactly that. Like
No.
I'm a fairly good dirt tracker, and I went there and I'm like, dude, I feel like a fish out of water here. And I'm like, dude, these guys are driving. I'm like,
Yeah.
how are they just, what? Yeah.
The idea of learning how to slide is not correct. you know, it's making the wheels work when you can't slide, making the whole motorcycle work when there's too much grip. And if you just learn how to slide, that's not going to help you. So it's and a lot of dirt trackers fall into that category now, where they just go in and back it in with the back brake. I'm got to turn the front wheel in, because that's what stops you. The back brake won't stop you.
And we saw that in dirt track. I mean, you know, it was kind of California style that came into dirt track, and you know, people like Briar Bauman and certain people that kind of changed the game with the front and being able to bring
the front wheel,
bring the entry. Because dirt track with 2 corners, everybody can slide in and come out, but he forced the entry to now people have to go in.
That's why Ascot was so important, because it had a lot of grip.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of grip. And that's why people always said, if you win the 8 mile, you're the king, you're the top guy. Because the 8 mile was real short, but Ascot was notorious for you know, it was just a real lot of grip racetrack where you had to have a cut Pirelli and it had to be this hard. And it was a lot of it. I won a lot of races at Ascot, and that's because you could flick it in, stop it, and go. But if you put decomposed granite down, you're not going to do that.
Yeah. Talking about kind of training up kids in that era, and then, you know, full circle now, you've got the team here in Moto America with the Talon Cup. What kind of led you to get back into that? Was it Chuck calling you up and saying, "Hey, we're doing this new thing. Why don't you come be a part of it?" Or was there kind of a missing void for you to want to be back involved?
I've talked to Wayne and Chuck about this. I said, we need what they have in Europe here. It just took a long time to do it. So Arnie Wick is my partner, and I said, they have this new class, and it's not a big budget. And I said, that's where Cobb needs to go, Cody. And we called Cody. You want to do this? Yeah. So I said, Arnie, you want to do this? And he said, yep. So that's how it started. Mm-hmm. We really did it for Cody, and Cody rode his butt off last year, and I can't believe nobody's bought him.
I know. Yeah.
I'm dumbfounded, because I watched all the practices and he was doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just too big.
Too big.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I know. We talk about it all the time.
He passed everybody in the corners, and they'd pass him down the straightaway.
Mid-Ohio.
Every lap.
Around the outside, especially Little Rain.
Some of these teams did not put him on a 600 or even 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
I'm dumbfounded.
Yeah.
That's like when I took Wayne to Europe, everybody said I was an idiot, because he couldn't even pass a pace car when he rode a 250 for me in '84. And because he couldn't start the bike, he had to pass the pace car a lot. They would duke it out. And and we teased him about that all the time. But they said I was crazy. Honda said to Wayne, if he can get a ride in Europe, we'll let him out of the contract. So I hired him. And he turned out to be one of the best road racers we ever produced.
Yeah. Cody said something that you used to tell him, because Cody had a couple crashes himself that year. And he used to say every time you came off the track, you would go, did you learn something? And like that was the number one thing that you would always ask him. Hey, did you learn something? I thought that was quite cool. And, you know, I guess not a lot of pressure, but it seems like listening to you talk, that's all of your experience coming back and, hey, you might be able to use this in a future time.
Well, it's not an easy sport, and it's, we kind of threw him into the deep end.
Yeah.
And we knew that, but there's not many good things you can take away from a crash other than learning something. That goes back in the computer, and you keep that there.
Yeah.
And it's the guys that come in and go, I don't know. I don't know what happened. That's the guys that worry me,
Yeah.
you know, because I want them to know why they did that. What possessed that to happen? Whether it's lean angle, where was the lean angle, you know, after the apex, if you push in the front, you made a mistake.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of the things that I don't have to do it much because Kinsai hasn't crashed. So
He's been doing well.
yes,
He's been doing
well,
really
very
well.
well. Yeah.
When you look at somebody like that, like what are some of the things that you look for, or you're picking out? You know, like when you look at him, do you see somebody who really has like the longevity
Well,
already?
Of course, he's got the talent to do that. They all do. You know, Wayne's a good example. He just needed a chance to do it.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a racing team in Europe, he may had never went to Europe, and he would have been a superbike champion, but he may not have ever went to Europe because we don't have that. We've lost that
Yeah.
Europe team
Yep.
connection, and that Cody, I see a lot of Wayne and Cody. I haven't had that much experience with Kinsei, but I'm looking for corner speed and exit speed because the bikes are little and they don't have much power. But there is the factor of if you're getting in too hot, then you're not accelerating, and so that's what I look for most of the time.
Now, talking about the struggles of racing, I guess a bit more for youth in this era. A lot of it comes down to finances, obviously, right? It's just
Everything's about finances or lawyers.
the money's a bit harder to find. It seems like now than maybe in your era. But can you speak to that? Can you speak to kind of like what was the trajectory like for you and I guess finding the resources to do it? Like how did that come together back then versus now? Obviously you're a little more involved with the team and seeing how that has to happen. But was it just Yamaha and that was it? That's all you needed? Once you got picked up by a factory, you were good to go? Or was there people that had to help to get you there and pay for it along the way?
I remember going to Goodyear and they did not race in Europe. And so Leo Mel was the head of Goodyear Racing, and I flew back to Ohio or to Akron and met with him, and he says, "Okay, we're gonna go to Europe with you." I said, "Great, but I need $50,000." He said, "What?" I said, "I need $50,000. Yamaha give me one motorcycle and parts, 500. And I don't know if they give me the truck or not. They may have. And $100,000. Well, that paid the mechanics. So I had to race for money. Of course, I had a contract. I forget what my contract was at that time. So I had that contract money. I don't even remember what it was. And Leo said, "Can you stay tomorrow?" "Yeah, we're having a board meeting, lunch. And I'm going to ask you questions and answer them." And one of the guys grabbed Leo into the deal and said, "Hey, we're going to help this kid, right?" And Leo goes, "Yeah." And so that was the $50,000.
Wow.
I mean, that's the 50,000 back then too. That's like 200,000 now.
Yeah.
In value. I mean, it just seems like if we walked into a room and asked for that, even today, it'd be unfathomable for 50 grand. Somebody would laugh at you for asking for that kind of money.
America's kind of lost its way. If it's not a ball sport, it's kind of not where it needs to be. Of course, NASCAR's probably doing okay. IndyCar's doing okay. So, it needs to be our turn. Somewhere along the line, we're going to have a team in Europe and start.
And do you think Europe is the answer, though? You know, you think like getting back
Yes,
to Europe, or do you
yeah,
think building up
I
America?
do, because it's the biggest
Still.
draw that we have. It's the biggest platform.
Yeah.
And we can mess around all we want in the little platforms, but it multiplies if we're in the big platform. But to get in the big platform and win is
That's huge.
is the
Challenge.
problem.
Yeah.
And where did you get the business sense to kind of, you know, I hear you talking about like a lot of money and different things. You ran your own teams. Like you have to have some sort of financial business literacy to be able to do that. Did you just learn that on the way, or was that like when you went in and asked for 50 grand? Was it like I don't know if I'm gonna get it, or were you like, hey, this is what I need?
That was pretty simple. That's what I was short. I figured I was short.
You just weren't afraid to ask.
Yeah, and luckily my start money was pretty good, and
When you say start money, like just for being on the grid, you mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that was coming from the series.
yeah,
Series
wow.
was paying well.
yeah.
So what could you make in a series back then? Like, what did that look like?
Well, when I first went to Europe, it was low, and of course doing wheelies and getting more famous, you know, then I'm in a situation where they have to pay you
You got some leverage.
to get spectators.
Yeah.
And so I was at the end of my career, I was demanding, I think it was 25,000 start money,
Per race.
something like that.
Wow.
They did an article in one of the Motorcycle Weekly or something in Britain and said, value for money. They you know, thrashed me. And they said the money that he's paid can buy a house in Britain.
Wow.
And yeah, I think it was 30,000.
And that was just from the series. That wasn't like bonus money or contract money or
contract.
Yeah,
sponsor
just
money.
from the promoter.
Wow.
So what was like, if you don't mind
They don't
sharing,
get that now.
Yeah.
Of course not. What
They
what
don't
was-
even do them races
No,
anymore. I've
yeah.
run them out of business.
Really? What was like your best year racing, roughly? You know, like what?
Money?
Yeah. What was the scale of it at
Oh.
the height of that?
Probably right around $1.2 million,
Yeah.
$1.3 million.
Like
Wow.
all said and done, everything before winnings and all that kind of stuff. Just showing up and getting a
Well,
contract.
total, you know, of course, had to pay taxes on all that.
Yeah.
So that was at that time 50%.
Wow.
So
wow.
I would end up broke
Sure.
every tax season. The first time I had to pay taxes, because I had my manager, my sponsor at that time was a Pan Am pilot named Jim Doyle, and I won the American, and I think I won the first time I raced, and I won the Grand National Champion. I made like $45,000. Wow. So that was, what, 73. And I remember just getting married, and Kenny was about that big, and I'm taking care of him. She had to go to the store or something, and the phone rings, and I'm trying to change his diaper, and which was complicated in the first place. And I answered the phone by the bed, and my tax attorney, and he says, "I've got your taxes down to $35,000." So I would have made more than that. So I got your taxes down to $35,000, and I'm going, "No, I got all these write-offs. I don't pay taxes." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I got a problem with that." Yeah. So I said, and about that time, I said, "Oh, I got a link. Hang on a minute." Kenny's peeing out of the crib, and I got a guy trying to take $45,000 from me, or $35,000. First time I had to pay taxes, and so I must have made over 40. And so I was like, you don't understand. I got all these write-offs. He said, well, I'm not the one that doesn't understand. Them are not write-offs. I'm going, well, Doyle said they were write-offs. I had $5,000 in the bank.
Wow.
Well, that sounds like us. Everything's a write-off.
Yeah.
And
We're writing this off right
so
now.
I had to pay through the year. The following year, I win the Grand National Championship again. Phone rings. I got it, your taxes down to $45,000, and I had $10,000 in the bank, and I paid through the year.
Yeah.
In 1979, I got a divorce, and I was able to start saving some money. And I hired a guy from Goodyear, Gary Howard, to be my manager. And he's looking through all my tax stuff, and he goes, you make a lot of money. That time I was probably making $1 million. And he says, you make a lot of money, but you don't have any. Yeah, that's what I'm hiring you for. and yeah, it was, I thought I can't make it. You know,
Yeah.
I every year I end up paying taxes through the year because I don't have enough money.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with the system.
Yeah.
And
It's all about
finally,
the
he put
approach.
me on an allowance. Like I think it was like $400 a week
Wow.
cash. I couldn't have credit cards.
Yeah.
And finally, he turned it around.
And is that somebody who helped you, invest money? Like,
Still to this day, yeah.
Wow.
and is that what kind of changed your life, or maybe for now, where you, like,
Well,
being able
absolutely. I couldn't see a way out.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, at that time, money was cash, and it was easy to, I'd come home, there'd be new furniture. It's like, what's this for? If it wasn't to do with a motorcycle, it really shouldn't have been paid for, in my view. So I couldn't see a way out. And you have a lot of cash, but you need more cash. How are you going to get it?
to, yeah.
Win more races.
Well, you had to raise my start money.
Do you know
That's
what
so funny.
type of stuff that they did? Was it just investing like in stock market and stuff like that, or did you had a property, a
Yeah,
ranch?
I'm in the
and-
market. Most of it's in the market. I don't do real estate, or
Okay.
my motto was always buy high and sell low.
It's still mine. Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm on that program myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of our other partners is Gulf Point Advisors. They're an investment firm, and that's one of the things usually you did it for us. We didn't have to ask you, but it's one of the things we like to talk about, because I feel like money in racing it's everyone races because they love it. It's not about the money, like you were saying. But
Well, it
obviously,
wasn't for me, but it is for some people.
yeah.
But
the expense of it is so
it,
overwhelming.
it's
and
keeping it. That's the problem.
yeah.
There's always something else to try or buy or do, and it's these guys have helped us. We feel in our younger careers that maybe the
we didn't
same
have
as
any-
you, we were spending it and didn't have anything, and so now trying to get on track, and hopefully this helps talk to the younger generation. Cody, Kenzie.
Well, you need that. You really need that. A lot of the sports people do need that, and it's because you think it's never going to end.
Yeah.
And it does end.
Yeah, I think motorcycle
feels-
racers struggle with that the most.
Yeah.
More than I can't speak for other athletes, but
Yeah,
for
they
whatever
just-
reason, we live in
so-
fantasy land.
it's everyone's different,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it interesting. But it's funny that the motorcycle thing is. There's two people. There's the people you talk to at a restaurant or a bar, riders, and then there's riders that you talk to under pressure. So they're two different types.
Yeah.
And both the helmet on is a different, then they can change. And I used to say, journalists would say, oh, that kid is so nice. Don't worry, he's got time to turn into an asshole like me. So that's and the money part of it is, luckily, I signed Eddie Lawson up with my guy and Wayne Rainey, and of course, Junior. And so they were able to keep money.
Yeah.
And that's
It's huge.
huge.
Yeah.
Because you need it. If you don't have it,
Yeah.
it's hard to get.
Especially as you get older. And, you know, one thing kind of going back, how did you, when you were in the KR, you know, prototype, how did you raise enough money not to like dip into your own? You know, that's
I
always.
did dip into my own.
You did? Okay, because
sure.
that's got to be so hard to.
About $8 million.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you were in.
Yeah, there was a few bad seasons, but we kept building motorcycles. So I was spending my own money. I was loaning money to my racing team.
Wow.
It's coming back to me now because everything I sell, obviously, to fill up that loan
Yeah.
is tax-free.
Yep.
Probably shouldn't be saying that, but
Yeah.
so, I mean, that was my retirement.
Yeah.
And so I still have a few motorcycles left to sell. And a lot of parts to put more together.
Yeah.
And do you still have a brand with that? Like, do you guys sell apparel, and is there still a brand to it that actually is alive and kicking?
Yeah, but when I raced, it's big money.
Right.
You don't have to have a business, so you don't have to. You know, you don't do things for 10 grand or
Yeah.
3 grand and so when you're done, and apparel, I think we're netted out about 2,000. It's like, get rid of that.
Not worth the time.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. You know, there's just so much time, so much energy spent on something that doesn't really make big money because I'm used to that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm used to getting big money to still get big money in Japan and Europe to do events.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to go away.
And when you guys were building those bikes, how come you guys never did you have aspirations to do a street bike or kind of spin it into that?
Funny enough, it was a luck thing. I shook the guy's hand in Malaysia called Modinas, and he wanted us to build motorcycles for him to sell because he has a contract with Kawasaki, and they're taking most of the profit. A week after I shook that guy's hand, and I had to meet the Prime Minister of Malaysia to do the deal. The week after, and it was for $3 million to name the engine, Modinas. And he died, him and his wife, in a brand new Guzzi helicopter.
Wow.
And I had no contract, nothing. But one guy, second in command, knew that the deal had happened. And so they went ahead and do it. But now, instead of the head guy wanting to do this, there was 14 board members who just wanted to play golf.
Yeah.
They didn't want to get in a fight with Kawasaki. And so we designed a lot of street bikes, and they just wouldn't pull the trigger.
Wow. That's crazy.
Just hearing you guys talk about some of the stuff between Chuck and you and whatnot, it's like, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with Suter, obviously, racing, but it's kind of similar, right? What they've been able to kind of build the business into, and obviously they're doing much other stuff now other than motorcycles because there's not a lot of money in building motorcycles.
No.
But they've kind of turned that into a different company. So I was always kind of curious, like, with all the resources and stuff you guys had developed over that time period, it all kind of just stopped, right? Right after it was just.
Well, not really. I have my guy designing a twin right now, V-twin,
really?
with 2 of my 3-cylinder cylinders on it, because we have the rods, we have the pistons, we have the cylinders, and so we need a crankcase to put this in, and we want to make a track day bike.
No way.
So
That's
it'll be like
cool.
a 400, like a 400 on steroids.
Well, James will send you his resume for Super Hooligans. Right after this, I'll get your business card.
That's going to be my next real project soon.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's still kicking then.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
yeah, we're still, because I've got cylinders, I've got pistons, I've
Yeah.
got all the stuff.
From back then, just sat around.
Yeah,
Wow.
sitting in my house.
And when you say you got like 3 or 4, you got like hundreds.
Yeah, a lot.
Really?
What?
Yeah, a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot.
Wow. I wanted to ask about more like your childhood, because we didn't really get into that at all. But we hear about you and Kenny Jr. But what led to you actually getting into racing? Like where did you start from? Was it a family thing before you as well?
No, I was training horses,
Whoa.
and the people that the trainer rented a barn in Modesto. And so the kids that lived there got a taco mini bike for Christmas. And I was walking from the trailer to the barn to feed the horses. And they teased me about, hey, you don't want to ride this. I go, no, I don't want to ride that. And, oh, are you chicken? I went, no, I'm not chicken. I just want to ride it. And so they teased me some more and said, all right, I'll ride it. Well, I had no idea what I was doing. And so I thought the throttle should go this way and that way. And I got in all kinds of trouble. I actually bounced off the trailer at one point, but I saved it. And I rode back and I go, yeah, that's fun. And I was like, wow. And that was probably the last day I worried about horses.
Really?
I went home and built out of a bicycle frame, I built my first, it was a lawnmower motor with a suicide fan belt clutch.
How old were you?
I didn't have a tube for the front tire, so it was a little wobbly. I still have a scar on my knee from that thing. Wow. Because I came in through the gate and I missed the throttle because it had a throttle like that, and right in front of my mom.
How old would you have been at that time?
Probably 12.
So the whole engineering thing didn't just come out of
Yeah.
nowhere. I mean, you were tinkering.
Yeah, 12 years old. I went home and built one. But I always tinkered with. I was really good for me taking stuff apart. Putting it together was another problem. But this engine ran, so all I had to do was put it on the bicycle.
That's where it all started.
Wow.
Yeah, been
That's
building
crazy.
them ever since.
That's
But
nuts.
for some reason, I had to master that bike. And I remember getting my brother had to go to summer school, but both my parents worked. So they bought him a Honda 50 to ride to summer school. Well, when he got a Honda 50, I had to have a Honda 50. So I think my first Honda 50 was like $150.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I traded it because we had a fourth of an acre. And I had a little racetrack that I made. I don't know why, but I had a racetrack, and I used to train the little girls' ponies because I was little, and I had a couple of families that, would you come and ride my daughter's Shetland, because it bucks her off all the time. So I'd go and work with the horse. And so he had a Tohatsu 50, and he was a wheeler dealer type of guy. And I said, "What, that bike?" He goes, "Oh, it's a two-stroke. It's faster than the Honda. Would you trade my Honda 50 for it?" Sure. So I rode that around definitely faster. And a wrist pin keeper come out and seized up. My dad says he worked at the city of Modesto in the water department. He says, "I know a guy that races that thing, I think." So guy come and picked it up. Name was Merle Mills, and he raced 50cc Tatsus. And he fixed it for me, brought it to my house. He goes, "Try it." And I rode around the racetrack, and he said, "That kid's got a race." And I said, no, I don't want to race. Yeah, you do. Again, just go to a race with me. I thought they were big, hairy guys with,
Yeah.
leather jackets. Because my dad had these pictures of him when he rode an Indian Scout
Yeah.
before he was married. And I went to the race. I said, these guys are just like me.
Yeah.
And that's when I started racing.
That's crazy. That's a wild story.
Yeah. I passed everybody in turn one, my first race, and the bike seized the third corner, and I got off and kicked it.
Do you think that the horse riding thing had anything to do with what you turned into on a motorcycle? Just like, was there any lack of fear because you had been used to riding these animals who basically had the mind of their own?
I never had any fear. That's probably one of my downfalls.
Even at that age, you were just fearless.
No, I just didn't have any fear because I didn't ever get hurt or and if I did, it's my own fault most of the time.
Even after like your first big crash on the bike, did you just get right back up and want to go hammer again, or did it make you realize anything?
No, for some reason I just had to master the motorcycle.
Okay.
And I don't know where I'd be if I didn't.
Yeah.
Probably be a janitor somewhere. Whatever, I was made to do what I did.
Yeah.
There's no really, all the practice I did, all the thinking I did, all the stuff I did goes back to I had that natural ability in the first place.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to that.
Mm-hmm. When you look back at the whole length of your career, and you look at the future generation coming up, or just generations to come in general, you're kind of you're one of the legends of the sport for everyone. What would you say is something that you take from all of your experience and everything you've been through that you would want to leave behind for them to think about?
I don't know. Doing it right probably is, if you're going to do it right, as safe as you can do it, because there's, as I told Marquez one day, there's life after you race a motorcycle.
You had that conversation with him?
Huh.
Yeah, there is life after you race, because sometimes it doesn't look like he knows that.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. It's positioning your place in life that takes you till you're dead.
Yeah.
And not get into drugs.
Yeah.
And get into stuff that affects your life. So
would you say your life after racing, it was as fulfilling as
no, of course not. There's nothing more thrilling than throwing a 500 down,
bouncing
on
off the
its
hay
side,
bales.
and the hay bales thing. I mean, where Etten Senna got killed in Imola was a fifth gear corner.
Yeah.
Again, with hay bales, then a wall.
Yeah.
And it was probably, I'm just guessing 20 yards off the corner, but that's fifth gear.
Yeah.
In 83, in qualifying, I went around that corner in sixth gear. And I told Eddie I was fast time by lot. I said, I went around the Tabulero sixth. He goes, no, you didn't. I said, look at the data, sixth gear. Because when you backshift in the fifth, it slowed you down quite a bit. I thought I could only do it 2 laps. The tire was fresh.
Yeah.
Could never do it during the race. But there was probably a 1/10 of a second or maybe less, but it seemed like a minute where if the front end would have pushed, I had
You're done.
no throttle. So it was one of them stupid things that I did that I didn't have to do.
Yeah.
I was fast time anyway.
Yeah.
But pushing myself to that level is hard to explain why I would even think about it. But it was just that feeling at that point where it was, I'm on my knee, and the engine's not RPM to slow me down, and I'm coasting through that corner, and I could feel the back start, which was okay because the back was slipping, front couldn't slip.
Yep.
And so it was just like, okay, I did that. That's done.
That's crazy. This has been a wild story.
Yeah. No, it's been really amazing. We got one last big question for you that we ask every guest that comes on. I don't know if you're ready for it, to be honest with you. You want to hit it?
Yeah, so we ask everybody, essentially, you're on death row for whatever that may be, and we ask them, what's your death row meal?
Last day on Earth, what are you eating before they put you out?
That's a good question. I've been on death row a few times. In Japan, when I was laying there for 3 weeks, Goodyear bought me a fruit basket. That's what they do in Japan, and I'm rubbing this orange on my face every day. I'm going to eat you someday. I'm going to eat you. And finally, the doctor says, "Okay, you can start eating now with just a soup, rice soup." I said, "Can I eat an orange?" No. Finally, he says, "Yeah, you can have 2 slivers of orange." So I told my wife, because I'm in a body cast, "Get my orange." She brings me this orange. I go, "No, get my orange." She starts crying. I ate it. For 3 weeks, I'm rubbing this orange on my face, and she ate it. God, that was close to divorce right there. But on death row, I'd probably have to say a rare steak.
All right. Any sides?
Vegetables. I eat vegetables. Rice. Of course, I have a Japanese wife, so I have rice every day. I would say spinach. When I was little, I used to open the can and be Popeye and eat the spinach. So yeah, I like all that stuff. I eat everything.
Yeah. What kind
There's
of drink?
nothing I do not eat.
What kind of drink? You into anything, drink-wise?
I don't have one. I'm on bourbon right now.
Okay.
Because of Wayne Rainey, try this bourbon. And so I'm experimenting with bourbon, but I don't have, used to be martinis, and well, they started me out in wine.
Yeah.
So the first time I went to Imola, they introduced me to red wine. Never had it before, and it tasted like grape juice.
Yeah.
Well, me, Barry Sheen, and Gene Romero got in the Yamaha racing manager's car and went probably a quarter of a mile down the street and rolled it upside down in a canal. So that was my first experience with alcohol. And
Perfect.
So it was upside down in a canal, and I went, "Okay, don't panic because you're in a lake." I was hammered anyway, and Gene was in the back seat, and Barry went under the seats into the back, so it's upside down. So I opened the door. Don't panic. Open the door. It was against the side of the canal, so it won't open. The water's just coming in. It's like, okay, go to the back and open the back door. Well, I'm so stupid. Trying to open the same door in the back, and it won't open. So I swam under the seats again, and I tried to kick the window out, and it's already too much water. So I said, "Oh, okay. Well, this is how I'm going to go." And so I just sat there. I went, well, I always wanted to know how I was going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just sat there. I was really calm and nothing. And I hear this pounding on the top of the car. Kenny. It's like, oh, well, I'd have sat there for 3 days because the water was never going to get higher than that. And I swam underneath, and the door that opened, Gene rolled the window. He's more experienced than me. He rolled the window down and swam out.
He'd done
And
it before.
So he thought, well, if I let him die, Yamaha will fire me, so I better save him. And so, yeah, I just sat there. I was like, oh, that's how I'm going to go.
That's
It's
crazy.
pretty
That's
funny.
amazing.
But anyway,
those are all some good stories. We really, 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 really appreciate you coming on and sitting with us for 2 hours. And hopefully you enjoyed talking about some of the stuff again. And yeah, Jimmy, you got anything?
It wasn't too painful.
Was it too painful?
We tried to keep it. No, thanks you for, coming on and telling us a lot of the stories and giving us some more history. You're one of the legends of the sports, and it's really cool what you're doing with your team and, trying to bring the next one up. I know that's, a passion. We're so stoked to be able to tell that story.
Yeah. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Cool.
Thank you.